completely different.
We begin this episode of the Seventh House this evening with a little something from Rush. From 1981, an album of theirs called Moving Pictures. The song you heard was called YYZ, one of their better-known instrumental pieces. Before that, we did something from Lalo Schifrin, great jazz and movie composer who passed away last week. Something from 1967, the theme from the television program Mission Impossible. Couple of trivia things about the Rush song YYZ. The title of the piece is the International Aviation abbreviation for Toronto International Airport. If you have a ticket stub or if you buy a ticket to fly to Toronto, it will tell you you're going to fly to YYZ, and that's also how it appears on radar. The two songs you just heard also relied on Morse code in each of the pieces. YYZ at the beginning of the piece, the rhythm that they were doing was the Morse code for YYZ. Same way with Mission Impossible, the rhythm that goes all through the song is the Morse code for the letters M and I for Mission Impossible. Great music, and if you're not careful, you might learn something too. It is the 7th House, brought to you live every Monday evening, courtesy of our wonderful friends here at the House of Prog, www.houseofprog.com. We'll be here till 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, playing a lot of new music. I think it's 9 new songs that we will be playing for you this evening. So grab your friends. Make sure your tray tables are in their locked and upright positions. Make sure your seatbelts are securely fastened, because we're going to get it going with something from Supertramp.
Yeah, I got used, I messed up and abused. You let me down with all your running round. Still you pretend and try to call me friend. Don't say a word, what I heard. Yeah, you've been loose. You just got no excuse. Just feel my rage. But can't you come of age? I felt it all, just like a cannonball. I'm all bad, so what's the use? You lied, that's true. You took the key, you drove right out on me. I never knew, but all my trust in you. Go! apologize. I paid the price, taking your advice. I felt it all, just like a cannonball. Yeah, like a cannonball. You can say what you want all day, but I've never been so outraged. And I'm washing my hands of you. How could you be so untrue? You know I can't stay no more. You know I can't stay no more. I can't stay no more. Can't stay no more. No.
We did 2 songs in the first set this evening. Kinda got out the Cannonball. Weather Report wraps things up with a track from their 1976 album entitled Black Market. The track that you just heard was called Cannonball, ballad written by keyboard player Joseph Zawinul in honor of one of his mentors, the great jazz saxophone player Julian Cannonball Adderley. The other interesting thing about the track that you just heard is that was the first Weather Report track on which Jakko Pastorius plays bass. And if you're listening right now and you don't know the music and the bass playing of Jakko Pastorius, there's your homework assignment for the next week. Check him out on YouTube, on Wikipedia, and anywhere else that you can check him out. A monster of a bass player. We started this set by doing something from Supertramp. The song that you heard was called Cannonball. It is from their 1985 album entitled Brother Where You Bound. It's the 7th house on a Monday evening. It is the last Monday and the last day of June. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I hope you're doing well, staying cool, and having a blessed start to your week. If you are tuned in, you do have an assignment for the evening. Let your friends know what you're doing. See if you can't get them turned on and tuned in to the 7th house. Lots of new music this evening. I counted it up. I think there are 10 new tracks that I've never played before. That's what I get for having a month of June that was very emotional and not keeping caught up on all the new music. I get it all in one swoop and get backlogged. But you're going to enjoy some of it because it's really cool. One of the many things that I listen to as a music lover is something from National Public Radio called Tiny Desk. It is a very interesting concert series. The concerts generally run about 20 to 30 minutes, and Tiny Desk uses and plays and features a very eclectic blend of artists from all genres of music. A couple of weeks ago, they featured Stanley Clarke. Well, the current Tiny Desk is this next artist, starting off a political set. Yes, this will be music with a message. Living Color. It's called Cult of Personality.
And during the few moments that we have left, we want to talk right down to earth in a language that everybody here can easily understand.
The cult of personality. I know your anger, I know your dreams. I've been everything you wanna be. Oh, I'm the cult of personality. Like Mussolini and Kennedy, I'm the cult of personality. The cult of personality. The cult of personality. Neon lights, Nobel Prize. When a mirror speaks, the reflection lies. You won't have to follow me. Only you can set me free. I saw the things you need to be. I'm the smiling face on your TV. Oh, I'm the cult of personality. I exploit you, still you love me. I tell you 1 and 1 makes 3. Oh, I'm the cult of personality. Like Joseph Stalin and Gandhi. Oh, I'm the cult of personality. The cult of personality. The cult of personality.
can do for you. The only thing we have to fear is fear.
One day I'd like to be rich and famous, maybe be funny like Andy and Amos, be on TV and sing like Stevie, and have a girl who never leave me. But I'd really like a place where there could be no war, a bright and shiny world where there ain't no poor, where there's opportunity, peace and unity, where people can be what they want to be, and where apartheid can never happen again, where people don't judge you by the color of your skin, where I hold your hand, you hold mine, where a helpful hand is never hard to find, a place where people care, where no one can bear when someone's hungry with nothing there, where the heart is never cold, the young are never needy, the old are never poor, and the rich are never greedy. Bring the power to the people to the power, cause now is the time, this is the hour to stop thinking about war, start thinking about peace. So on this life, we can get another lease, with a lesson to learn, a new direction to turn, so we can take it to the sky, where we belong. Cause for too long, we've been too wrong, yeah, we got the right notes, but we play the wrong song. Stop thinking with your wallet, think with your mind, so we can move ahead instead of behind. We got the people selling drugs, people are dying, politicians talking and you know they're lying. Taxes for the poor, none for the rich, people starving in America, now ain't that a bummer? And now my heat's been turned off from a job, I've been laid off, what am I gonna do? Well, is the shape I'm in because of my dark skin? Now I know that can't be true. But since we're all down here together, let's work to make it better, do our best for what it's worth. But you know the rules are bent when you have to pay rent just to live on earth. Talk about justice. We're gonna do something now that's gonna be really slick. We're gonna listen to Mr. Fleck and Chick. gonna say one more thing, then I'll get out of your face. How about it, Sam? With the little bass. Missiles on the ground, lasers in space, underground shelters, just in case that something goes boom, certain doom. Cause in our hearts we didn't make enough room for the love. It comes from up above. Let's stop talking war and let's offer the dove. Cause when it's done, it's over. When it's over, it's done. We look back at the wars and see that nobody won. It's time to make a better place for our daughters and our sons, or life will be a blast. Pardon the pun. Peace.
innocent woman from a family. Ooh, that's cold.
We did 3 songs in that set, and we wrap it up with the first of our many brand new songs that we're having on the program this evening. Some brand new music from Fishbone from their controversial new album called Stockholm Syndrome. The song that you just heard was called Last Call in America. The new Fishbone album gained the attention of the President of the United States because there's a song on the album that is not very flattering toward the current president. We may play it next week, you never know. But I do hope you enjoyed that. It's a real cool Fishbone album, by the way. The middle of the set was a message from Bela, Fleck and the Flecktones from their 1996 live album called Live Art. You had many bluegrass and jazz players helping Bela on that track. Victor Wooten on bass and rap. Bela, of course, on piano. Bela on banjo. Chick Corea on piano. Sam Bush on mandolin and Edgar Meyer on acoustic bass. We started the set with something from Living Colour from their debut album, 1988. The album was called Vivid. The song you heard was called Cult of Personality. I hope you are having a wonderful Monday evening, and thank you for tuning into the 7th House. from the Aristocrats. Guthrie Govan on guitar, Brian Beller on bass, Marco Miniman on drums. They are joined on that track by the Premoots Chamber Orchestra out of Poland. It's an album they did together back in 2022. It's a real cool album. Not really new music from the Aristocrats. All of the songs on the album are songs that they had previously recorded, but they added orchestral arrangements to them, and it really, really complements their guitar trio sound very, very well. I hope you enjoyed that. The piece was called Dance of the Aristocrats. You are listening to the Seventh House. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got a set of live music coming up a little later on in the program. In fact, the last set and the last song will all be live music. We have a lot of brand new music that we're going to start in this particular set after we play something from a longtime friend of this program, Mr. Simon Godfrey. One of his many bands is a band called Valdez. They released their only album to date so far in 2017. The album is called This. It's a piece called Black Eyed Susans.
They say one time's all the time. You know, they know, I know what is mine. All this, all gone, all hands lost and made again. It's here somewhere under misery. Look back, look deep, held in secrecy. Think hard, think fast, take your turn and play the game. Something for nothing, nothing is what you left behind. All of me watching, all of me there. Some lesson, some lifetime. Were you ever gonna bury that doubt? I waited, I lived it. All you wanna do is lock me out. Some savior, some gamble. Were you ever gonna bet it on me? No doorway, no handle. All you had to do is turn the key. Love me, hate me, lose me once again. Help me, help you, help us fight this thing. All I know is we'll go round and round again. Something for nothing, nothing is what you left behind. All of me watching, all of me there. Some lesson, some lifetime. Were you ever gonna bury that doubt? I waited, I lived it. All you wanna do is lock me out. Some savior, some gamble. the Sherlock Holmes and Robin Hood, and we'll be swimming in nostalgia till we drown. Somewhere between then and now, we killed and ate our sacred cows, and nothing seemed the same somehow. It all just slipped away. The future that seemed crystal clear got stuck in time and disappeared. We watched an era ending here as the blue sky fades to gray. All the dreaming turned to dust, and time has made a fool of us, till I don't know if to laugh or if to cry. There's one more hero who betrays our trust, like Georgie Best in each of us, limps back to the changing room to die. Somewhere between then and now, we killed and ate our sacred cows, and nothing seemed the same somehow. All just slipped away. The future that seemed crystal clear got stuck in time and disappeared. We watched an era ending here as the blue skies turn to gray. There goes the punchline to God's big joke. The world we'd set to conquer is just another puff of smoke. It's just a speck on the horizon, just a childhood memory. Looks like I lost my sense of humor, my sense of irony. Somewhere between then and now. Somewhere between then and now. Somewhere between then and
We did 3 songs in that set, 2 of them brand new. The song you just heard is a brand new song out of Toronto, Canada. The band is known as Half Past 4, Kyrie Vierbant on the vocals. Their brand new album is called Finding Time. And the song that you just heard from that album is called Far Away Here. Before that, Jakko M. Jakszyk. He's been a longtime member of King Crimson since the mid-1990s. He has a brand new album out called Son of Glenn. Very highly recommended. It's a very cool album. It was released on Friday, and I've pretty much been playing it all weekend long. As I said, the album is called Son of Glenn, and the song that you heard was called Somewhere Between Then and Now. Check out that album. It's really good. We started the set with Simon Godfrey and his band Valdez from their album called This, which was released in 2017. The song you heard was called Black-Eyed Susans. We are past the top of the hour. It is past 9 o'clock on the east coast of the United States. You are tuned into the House of Prog, www.houseofprog.com, for those of you listening to this program live. This is the 7th house on a Monday evening, the last Monday and the last day of June. The year is half over. Who knew? So glad you could tune in. We are here for another 90 minutes. We'll get you out of here right about 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We are doing a string of new music. Probably the next 30 minutes or so will be new music. And this is a brand new piece. Listen to this one. It's also very cool. This is Howard Jones. Brand new music from Howard Jones. His new album is called Piano Composed. It is his third album of piano music. The album is all instrumental. No improvisation on the album. They are just a series of piano pieces that he has written over the years. And that was a piece called The Way You Choose to See It. Another album that I will highly recommend. There is kind of a same quality to it because it's just Howard on piano. But it's real cool music. If you're just familiar with Howard Jones as being the hit maker from the 80s and 90s, this gives you a little bit more of a view of how good Howard Jones is. I hope you enjoyed that. We are continuing with a stretch of new music here in the 7th house. This one's going to get a little loud. That is your spoiler alert. I'm going to dip into the jazz to start off this set. This is a jazz saxophone player out of New York City. His name is Donny McCaslin. Progressive rock people, David Bowie fans, may recognize his name. Donny McCaslin was a member of the Black Star Band, David Bowie's last band. He plays saxophone on Bowie's last album, which is called Black Star. Donny McCaslin is releasing a new album in August called Glitch. He released 2 tracks out on Bandcamp last week, and this is the title track from his upcoming album. As I said, this one gets a little loud. It's called Glitch.
for the county, and I drive the main road, searching in the sun for another overload. I hear you singing in the wire, I can hear you through the wine. Wichita lineman is still on the line. On the line. I know I need a small vacation. It don't look like rain. And if it snows, that stretch down south won't ever stand the strain. And I need you more than want you. And I want you for all time. And the Wichita lineman is still on the line.
And I need you more than want you.
Still on the line.
And I want you for all time.
And I need you more than want you. And I want you for all time. And the Wichita lineman is still on the line.
And I need you more than want you. I want you. And I want you for all time.
Still on the line.
And I need you more than want you. I want you more than ever. And I want you for all time. I need you for all time.
Still on the line.
If you're gonna make a backswing and be a winner, it's another round. They will treat you like a king, and the adulation finally you have found. There's nothing else, there's nothing better. State of fortune, make somebody proud. If it's not yourself, then someone else can make the best of what she's going well. And a step will make an affirmation. 'Cause you're done with trials and tribulations. Just make somebody proud. Oh, make somebody proud. Hold steady on the ground. Go make another round. Just make
let you down. Leave the crowds behind for your celebration, 'cause you don't need them once you're back in town. Well, there's nothing else, there's nothing better, but if nothing sells, still have to make it and make somebody pay. Coronation, you've been diddled by your own sensation. Make another smile for photo frames as the color of your eyes meets the color of your face. Hey, that's okay, add a token to your name, and a father to a son, and to everyone. Make somebody proud. Yo, make somebody proud. Yeah. Make somebody proud. Hold steady on the ground. Go make another round. Make somebody proud.
The new music continues this evening. 3 songs in that set, all of them brand new. We wrap it up with Nod Sylvan, the Swedish vocalist best known in the progressive rock community for his work with Steve Hackett on all of Steve's live tours, probably the past 10 to 12 years or so. Nod has released a couple of solo albums under his own name. His brand new album, which was released on Friday, is called Monumentata. And the song that you just heard was Make Somebody Proud. Before that, something from Chimpan A. They have a new EP that they've released out on Bandcamp. Hopefully you recognize the song that they did. Song written by the great American songwriter Jimmy Webb, originally made popular by Glenn Campbell back in the early 1970s. Song you heard was called Wichita Lineman. Steve Balsamo on the male vocals, Christina Booth on the female vocals on that track. Check it out. Chimpan A, out on Bandcamp. A lot of artists that we are featuring this evening are out on Bandcamp, and I just want to remind everybody, this week is the first Friday in July, but it is not a Bandcamp Friday. The next Bandcamp Friday will be the first Friday in August, but don't let that deter you. Check out Bandcamp for all your favorite artists, because it's a real good place for the artist to generate income off of their music. We started this track with Donny McCaslin, speaking of Bandcamp. The song that you heard was called Glitch, which is also the title of his upcoming album. That song is also out on Bandcamp. You're listening to The Seventh House. This is Mark Guiliana. That is a jazz composer, percussion player, and drummer out of New York City. His name is Mark Guiliana. His album, brand new album that was released on Friday, is called Answers. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Take that back. It's called Questions. And what you just heard was something called When Will Be the Last Time. And it's a pretty good description of the album, that particular piece. Very subtle in its percussion and in its melody. A lot of it is piano and other percussion instruments. It's kind of a mood album, but it's really good. I do hope you enjoyed that. As I said, lots of new music this evening. A couple more new songs to share with you. Actually, this is a double shot. This is a band out of the Ukraine. They are known as Karfagan. Their brand new album is called Omni. We're going to play a couple of songs from the album. Starting off with something called Omni Overture. This is the Seventh House.
Thank secrets will never unfold. Stories of love, of courage, of gold. Each shuffle of fate, a turn of the tide, a glimpse of forever, then shadows collide. When love is the wager, the stakes are so high. A fleeting embrace, and then a goodbye. The loss got so deep, yet the memory stays. Aged in the cards, in life's endless maze.
That's music from Karfagan. He is from the Ukraine. His new album is called Omni. You heard a song called Omni Overture, and the song that you just heard was called A Shuffle of Fate. I do hope you enjoyed that. That's not the end of the new music. I still have two more brand new songs to play. One of them is live, by the way, and the other one is a jazz piece that will play not this set, but the next one. We continue on our interesting musical journey that we do every Monday evening that I call the Seventh House. This next artist I am preparing to go see in concert My first live concert in over 2 years. Friday evening, July 11th. I'm seeing this gentleman. A double shot of Todd Rundgren in the 7th house.
I've been wrong. I had plans so big, but the devil's in the details. I left out one thing. No one to love me. No one to
I've always liked dragging my knuckles along the ground. Dragging my knuckles along the ground. So with all due haste I paced until I got so freaking wired. Forgot I was dragging my knuckles along the ground. Dragging my knuckles along the ground. I thought I was there to get ahead of yourself. I thought I was there to lead. And when they asked for volunteers, I must have thought they said drink beers. And I stood up too fast. I stood up too fast. I can't imagine things like can't possibly exist. And then I gave into an ever-expanding list. And when I saw every significant test there is, then I move on no matter how many creams I've made. It's so easy to be smart, but it's a struggle to be wise. You shouldn't be always throwing your weight around. Always throwing your weight around. It's much better to be humble than to have a big hat size, or you'll be just begging somebody to take you down. Begging somebody to take you down. You'll be the webman, and you'll be the webman. And right before your very eyes, I have ignored my own advice, 'cause I stood up too fast. I stood up too fast. And nobody has the slightest choice but to put up with my droning voice. But I stood up too fast. 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 Stood up too fast. I stood up too fast. Stood up too fast. I stood up too fast. Stood up too fast. I stood up too
A double shot of Todd Rundgren. We will probably do another one next week. Song you just heard was called Stood Up. It is from Todd's 2004 album entitled Liars. Before that, from 1989, an album called Nearly Human. Song that you heard was called The Want of a Nail. Yes, I'm seeing Todd in 11 days. I can't wait. He's been a long-time bucket list performer for me, and I've never seen him live. Really, really looking forward to it. The Seventh House continues on this Monday evening. Brand new music from GoGo Penguin. A little bit more new jazz for you this evening. That's a trio that comes to us from Manchester, England. They are known as GoGo Penguin. Their brand new album is called Necessary Fictions. The song you heard from that album was called Umbra. Very, very unique sound to that piano trio. They do not sound like your typical jazz trio. Check them out. You'll be surprised. We are getting near the top of the hour. It is the 7th House, brought to you live every Monday evening, courtesy of the wonderful people at the House of Prog, www.houseofprog.com. Believe it or not, we have one more set to play for you before we slip out of here. The rest of the program will be live music, 3 songs in this set, and then we will wrap it up with something from John Anderson and the band Geeks. We start this live set by going back to early 2025, This is a brilliant Polish progressive band known as Riverside. Their live album that was released earlier this year is called Live ID. This is called Addicted.
Dobry wieczór Warszawa, dobry wieczór Torwar. I have to share what I do or where I am. There's an urge within I can't ignore. Hashtag me and go. I'm addicted to your love. I'm addicted to my aimless drive. There's a mask upon my face. I can't live it out. So you won't recognize me when I'm in the crowd. I lost my calmness in the world where everything is searchable, dreaming inside out, feeling inside out. Place. I'm in here and everywhere. Just another day in HD frame. So hashtag me and go, 'cause I'm addicted to your love. I'm afraid you're the only friend I've got. There's a mask upon my face. I can't live it out. So you won't recognize me when I'm in the crowd. I lost my calmness in the world where everything is searchable, dreaming inside out, feeling inside out, dreaming inside out, feeling inside out. Hashtag me and go. I'm addicted to your love. Come on! I lost my calmness in the world where everything is searchable, where everything is searchable, where everything is searchable, feeling inside out, dreaming inside out. Oh!
hissing stone and sweat lodge fire. Around me buffalo rope, sage and bundle rub on skin. morning sun. Red paint, eagle feathers, coyote calling, it has begun. Something moving in, I taste it in my mouth and in my heart. It feels like dying slow. Letting go of life. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Shock the monkey.
Thank you so much and good night.
Some live music to wrap up this episode of The Seventh House from an album released in December of 2024, Tears for Fears. The album is called Songs for a Nervous Planet, and the song that you heard was called Head Over Heels, which originally appears on Songs from the Big Chair. Before that, Peter Gabriel, brand new live music from him. He released a live album last Friday called In the Big Room, recorded at his Real World Studios in England. A very intimate live performance. And the song that you heard was called San Jacinto, which originally appears on a Peter Gabriel album called Security. Riverside started us off from their 2025 live album called Live ID with a song called Addicted. Thank you very much for tuning in this episode of The Seventh House. It is always my privilege and honor to be able to bring you this music. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let your friends know what you do on Monday evening. Come back next Monday evening, 8 p.m. until 10:30 p.m. for another live episode of The Seventh House, brought to you live, courtesy of the wonderful people at the House of Prague, www.houseofprague.com. Going to wrap things up this evening with your Yes Fix, a little bit different Yes Fix to wrap things up. This is John Anderson and the band Geeks. They released a live album toward the end of 2024 called Perpetual Change. This has been a long time concert closing song for Yes. We leave you with Starship Trooper, and until we meet again, may all of you be well, be blessed, and know that you are loved. You've been in the Seventh House. I am the Mercurial Stranger.